Hi, this is Dave Moss, Senior Recruiter at Aardvark Swift, and I'm lucky to be speaking to Raman, who's the co-founder of Overview Org. So why don't we start on the project? Obviously, I've spoken in depth about what you're doing. It's really interesting, new, different,
Thank you.
but it'd be better coming out of your mouth. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, well, thanks for the intro and compliment. But I guess the thing that's unique about us is we're building a tool that isn't just a game and it isn't just a virtual concert platform. The aim of the project has always been to create something that can synchronize what's happening in the real world, in the real music world, so real concerts, whether they are tiny jazz cafe things or stadium shows, and to connect those with a living, breathing, massively multiplayer online game. And the reason all of us have come at this from different things. So we have people who've come at this from the gaming sector and people who come from the music world. I personally started off in music, but I think that everyone who has sort of paid attention to what's happening in the last couple of years will realise that the world of music and the way people are experiencing concerts and the way people experience games have become closer and closer, and the gap between them has become more and more vague. And I think that's the same about everyone's digital habits. That that we started this project obviously quite a long time before the pandemic, and we would be creating virtual concerts and we'd be working with these exciting game engines, but also trying to make compelling music concerts happen within the metaverse, if you like. And what's been amazing is that in the space of a year, even though the pandemic's been terrible, that everyone's digital habits have just accelerated into this insane degree.
For sure, yeah.
And then there's a kind of an ethical approach and angle to this as a project, which I think is more than just we're just trying to make a cool game or make something that's a tool for the music industry. That there are millions of artists out there who have got incredible music and don't have the platform that they deserve. All the venue, I'm speaking very much from a UK point of view, all the venues are closing down, all the small venues are closing down. There's not as much of a circuit as there was perhaps 10, 15 years ago. Brexit means it's more difficult for UK artists to tour. It's really mostly bad news for independent artists. And so what we think is, well, if there's 2.8 billion gamers in the world who are suddenly starting to go to concerts in game engines, and there are 137 million tickets sold every year, and a lot of them are becoming virtual tickets, then where is the platform in the middle? And the platform in the middle is the thing that we're building.
I love that. And it's just really magnified, I suppose, during this period.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And the arts have been overlooked and haven't really got the right representation. So to have that platform, what you're providing, it's needed, if anything.
Yeah, and I think it's also that the idea of what gaming is or what games are has changed and evolved, so that I think that the work that the past 30 years, where the language of building video games has evolved into this incredible art form, that has now seeped its way into every aspect of life. Like in some ways, a Zoom call or ordering an Uber, all these things are gamified or have game elements. You have an avatar, and so people who don't think of themselves as gamers are playing games kind of every day.
Yeah,
and the term game has become misleading in a way, that we're talking about interactive experiences using tech. And I feel like the music industry has in the past 20 years, if you speak to anyone in the music industry, it's been an ordeal to deal with the fact that tech has changed the way that music works. From streaming to the fact that the millions and millions of people that used to go out and buy records are now, jumping into massively multiplayer games or playing, Fall Guys or Fortnite or all these things. And so what we're presenting to them, and the reason that we've had such a fantastic response, is that we're now saying, well, the gaming sector isn't against what you're doing as the music sector. We're actually creating a portal so that everything that you can do as a manager or as a tour manager or as a radio plugger or a PR person or a label or whatever is completely transferable into this metaverse that we've been built, or the aspect of the metaverse that we're building. And the thing that is really crucial is that even though at the moment, you feel as though the virtual concert ecosystem's exploded because you have, Travis Scott in Fortnite, Ariana playing her show the other day, all these huge things. But really that's just for major label artists, that it's just for huge established acts where there are these millions and millions of unsigned artists who, they are the Travis Scotts of tomorrow, or the, the Joy Divisions of tomorrow, whatever, but they don't have their tiny pub to play in and their tiny bar. So we're creating those virtual places so these tiny gatherings can happen and these artists can explode.
Yeah, and they can kind of hone their talent and getting used to playing live. It's just it's overwhelming. I think the scope what you've got. It's a wonderful vision. It's got to be quite a complex thing to create and make it as good as you want it to be.
Yeah, it has been, and that's why it comes down to team, I think, and that's why it comes down. Historically, in all the moments that gaming history has been made, and it always comes down to the team. It comes down to a great idea, and it comes down to the team that can execute it. And a lot of the time, probably a lot of people watching this who've worked on large scale projects, the project that you go in to work on, there are moments that you lose your way. There are moments that you get thrown a curveball. There are moments that you find aspects of your game that were completely different to the original plan and you had to kind of run with. Yeah. And in a lot of ways, the game evolves and has to tell you what it is. And so with us, that's what that's the team that we've got so far and the group that we've been putting together have been people who, first of all, understand the importance of the role music plays in people's lives. So it's not just the standard gameplay loops of, if if it's an FPS, it's this, or if it's if it's third person, it's the normal language of video games definitely applies, but then this extra thing applies, which is what makes a concert compelling. Yeah. And it's something that no one's got right yet, because what makes a concert compelling, if you and I were to go to a gig and have the best time, if we were to talk about that memory the next day, it would be that we met up in the pub before. It was that we talked
for sure
about
the journey there.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And as with every real important part of gaming culture, it's about choosing what aspects that you can simulate of those to get that to get the user or the player or the fan, we don't even know what we're going to call them, the people who use this platform, to get them invested in it and to get them to build these memories that are connected with music and connected to this social experience. And I think it's, as well as it being something important, it's also a fascinating experiment with where gaming is going. Even in our earliest tests, we were finding out the way these users were, we were doing things where let's get 50 people into one space. Let's make it an MMO RPG element so they could explore the space, but let's make it so there's a concert. We were experimenting with format and things that had never been done before. And we were then having sort of watching all the footage and speaking to the users. And, they were evolving their own way of doing it. They wanted to buy a T-shirt for their avatar. They wanted to be able to speak to the artist. They wanted to go to an after party. They wanted to do all this weird stuff that we'd never thought of. So it's really exciting. And I guess, again, it's why the team we're looking for isn't just that we're not looking for someone who's going to come and say, I worked on this AAA and my approach is this. It's very much people who are excited to kind of, I guess, explore what's possible, but also sort of just celebration of music and gaming together and to see what it creates.
Yeah. And I love the idea that someone could be in Thailand or Australia or the other side who'd never get the opportunity to go to their favourite artist gig, and you can bring that in as well. It's such an incredible idea, and I think maybe 5 years ago there wouldn't be as much traction as there is now. I think the technology changed.
The technology was literally not up for it. And actually, you watch things like documentaries about World of Warcraft, which is arguably, where are your opinions of it as a game? Whatever, is a seminal moment in the history of gaming. That this new approach, this idea of a huge teeming landmass with all these different people playing it. And there are things that they did that were absolutely at the breaking point of what tech could do, just basic things to do with servers and nothing to do with aesthetics or the imagination of the designers and developers. It's just literally they hit Moore's law, they hit the barrier of what you could do with tech.